Hey, how's it going, guys? So this is my testimony about coming to Christ and accepting Him as my Lord and Savior. Um, it's a lot to explain in a short time, so I'm going to try my best. But basically, Acts 2:21 says that everyone who calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. And when I read that verse, it just reminds me so much of my situation, because my biggest blessing in life was my illness from 10 years ago. I had a severe illness that I was going through that really just took me to the bottom, rock bottom in my health, and I lost all hope, and basically it caused me to lose all my friends that I had at the time. All the things that I was doing, I quit doing it because all I did was stay in the house in my bed all night. I nearly lost the job that I just finished college for, and it got so bad I had to move in with my grandparents because I didn't think I'd be able to take care of myself, and it was just a matter of time before I gave up and quit my job, and then seriously considering just ending my whole entire life. And it was so bad, and it got to the point to where I hit rock bottom with my health and cried out to God, and basically He heard and He didn't answer immediately. In fact, it wasn't until about 8 years later when I started diligently seeking Him in His Word, praying constantly and going back to church, getting back into into seeking Him, that He started the actual healing process and completely healed me in 2 months from what the past 8 years has done to me. And basically what's crazy is that I've seen hundreds of doctors, hundreds. I've spent thousands of doctors on medical bills. I've went all over the nation. I went from one end of the nation to the other, going to the best clinics, seeing the best specialists, and all they would tell me is that everything's fine. We can't, nothing. We don't see anything wrong. But there was a physical illness in me that was going on that just completely caused me pain, suffering, and I knew it wasn't just in my mind; it was physical. And but I seen all the doctors except the one that could actually heal me. It wasn't until I turned to Him that the healing started. But basically, as that happened, to add to the story, I also met my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and luckily she's the one that God blessed me with, that probably the only girl in the world that would put up with my health issues, and she was there for me through the rough and tough times, and she didn't give up on me. But I'm thankful for that, and together we both found Christ on the same exact day, and this is our testimony to that, what I'm about to explain to you guys. And now, when I started, I didn't just start getting into the Word and start seeking God just to do it. There was, God revealed Himself to me supernaturally. He gave me a supernatural experience, and that's what got me seeking Him. And my heart was so stubborn that He had to alter reality to get my attention, but I'm just so thankful He did, and this is the testimony to that. Basically, one day, me and my wife, my girlfriend, we just wanted to play a game. We looked in the closet, and I noticed a board game in the back corner that I've had for years, and it was a psychic circle board, kind of like a Ouija board, but it's more colorful and has more words on it. But basically, we started messing around with it, and at first nothing happened, but then the planchette started to move, and we were saying, hey, it's you moving it, and we were blaming each other, until it started responding to some of our questions in a way that no one would know, not even me or my girlfriend, because it was telling us things that we had to Google to verify that He was correct, or call a family member to verify that what was going on was really happening. It was things like that. And he was answering things that it was just clear that it was a spirit talking to us, that it was supernatural. And it also brought back a memory that happened 5 years earlier in 2012. I was whenever I first got this spirit board, and there was another person that I was doing it with, and we got in contact with this same spirit, because back then we asked what his name was, and he told us his name. And then I remember that we asked his name again, me and my girlfriend this time, and it was the same name. And it was like, man, this sounds so familiar. And strangely enough, I had a journal that I was writing back then in that year, 2012, where I actually wrote that experience, and I went back and I pulled it up, and it was the same spirit, the same, and I'm like, wow. So it just kind of shocked us at first, and then we just kept going along with it. Now, some of the questions we were asking it were selfish questions, and can you see the future? What are the lottery numbers? Stuff like that. Just things that, because you're talking to a spirit that knows more than you, and you just want selfish ambition here. And but the crazy thing is that it just wanted to talk to us about going back to church, about the fact that God has plans for us. Because one of the things that we asked, is there anything that we should know? And he said, pray. So we asked him, do you know what's wrong with my health? And he responded, church, soon healthy. Okay. And we asked him, where do you see us, in the future? And then he responded, church. And so you got to remember, we're still atheists at this point, and we haven't accepted Christ into our hearts yet, so our hearts are still kind of hard. And we're like, yeah, okay, church, like we're going to be in church, And I'm surprised how hard a heart can be. You have all this supernatural evidence, and we were still hardening our hearts. That just shows God's love for me, and that he didn't give up on me. I could have just continued on in my sinful ways right there, but he kept revealing himself to me. And basically, and the fact that he's doing it through something that's an abomination to him. The spiritual boards, it's an abomination to the Lord. And after we found Christ, which I'm going to get to in a bit, we burned the board. And I believe that Christ knew that we were going to do that. And I believe if he knew that we were going to continue using the board after giving our lives to him, that he wouldn't have allowed that incident to happen in the first place. So basically, we were asking him, what do we do? Pray. He said, pray. We asked why, Sorry, I'm reading my notes here because it's so much I have to have it outlined. We asked, how is it possible that all this is happening? Like, how are we able to speak to you? How are you able to speak to us? And he said, through prayer. He said that because we had family praying for us to get back to church and to accept Christ, that he was allowed to intervene like this. So it's like God allowed him to intervene. And when he said that, it made me remember all my grandparents. My grandmother, she would always pray for me. Every time I'd go to her house, she would say, I'm always praying for you. I'm always praying for you. And then I have other family members that tell me that too. So prayer is powerful. Let me just tell you that. But anyways, so out of nowhere, the Spirit, spelt out the word rings. And we're like, rings? What do you mean rings? And then he said, when's the wedding? And I'm like, what? The wedding? And, I didn't have any plans on marrying my girlfriend. I wasn't really a believer in marriage. I was the person that said, we can be together without having to be married. Marriage is overrated, all that stuff. And definitely not true. Marriage is special, it's important, and it's God's will. And I'm so thankful that God revealed the truth. But anyways, so, all this happening, it got us thinking. And one day we took a road trip to Dallas. I had to take some classes for work, and this is the day that we actually gave our lives to Christ, because it was just too much to ignore what happened here. We got to the hotel on the 7th floor, and we got in the room, pulled out the board. We wanted to continue talking. We have this friendship with the Spirit. Who can say that? So we just wanted to talk to. We were just going at it, but out of nowhere, he said, "Turn on the TV." And we turn on the TV, and it was on a Christian station, and the sermon was just starting. And the sermon was about, the love for Christ and accepting Christ into your life, how your life can change if you turn to Him. So we watched the whole entire sermon, and at the very end, the pastor, offered the salvation prayer, and we gave our lives to Christ right there, asked to be born again. And I'm telling you, that very moment, there was something special. Like, I don't know, I can't put it into words, but from that moment on, it was just this amazing, peaceful feeling in my heart. And we went to the nightstand to grab a Bible. We wanted to, find out more about what the Word of God had to say. So we went in the Bible. The Bible was filled with highlights on repenting, turning from your sin, and accepting Christ into your life. And we also ask God to show us a sign, because we're new believers, we're happy, we know God's real now, and we're just asking Him, God, can you just show us a sign? So we open the curtains, and we see the only sign. We weren't expecting an actual physical sign, but there was one sign that was displayed. It was the hotel across the street, and that hotel was Candlewood Suites, and the logo for it is basically 2 rings interlocked with a shining flame in the middle. Now, I thought about it, and I realized that, the only thing now keeping me and my girlfriend from living in a sinful lifestyle is the fact that we were living together unmarried. And the logo to me represented our marriage with God in the middle as the shining flame, holding us together. And as soon as that clicked in my mind, my wife read a random verse from the Bible that she just flipped to, and it was about the importance of marriage. So all that adding up, and it was just amazing. And right then and there, we gave our lives to Christ. We didn't touch the board after that. It's just something that God put on our hearts, and we burned the board. We got back home, and we just started living for the Lord, reading our Bibles every day, and the Word just kept coming to life the more we read and the more we seek God. And to think that, I was that close to just not even calling on, asking Jesus to come into my heart. I cried out to the Lord 10 years ago. And 8 years of all this pain in my life, He allowed me to go through all that because He loves me. And He would rather me to go through, He cares more about my eternal condition than my present comfort. And I'm so thankful for that. That's why He allows things like this to happen. He wants you to call on Him. He wants to show you His power, that He can work in your life so that you may bring Him glory and give Him all the glory. And I'm just so thankful for that. And that's basically what happened. That's how we came to Christ. And there's a lot more that happened, guys. That's just the highlights that I went through. I mean, there was an incident where this was back at the house before we went to the hotel, where we were on the board, and it was like draining our energy. And so we wanted to take a break. So we did take a break, and we went in the other room. And I was the last one out the room and the first one back in. I intentionally put the planchette off the board on the corner of the table because I read somewhere that it's not good to keep it on the board unattended to. When we came back, the planchette was back on the board, and we were only gone for a few minutes. And it was back on the board, and it wasn't just randomly on the board. It was over a specific word, and that word was give. At first, I thought it was kind of creepy because I didn't know what it meant. But when I think back up on it, it makes sense now. It was basically saying, hey, the Christian thing to do is to give. Give your life to Christ. You know, give. You receive by giving, and it's a joy to give. And it truly is. And I'm so thankful that I gave my life to Christ. And if you haven't yet, I really hope that my testimony can inspire you to open your heart to Him, because He is real and He loves you. And I'm just thankful for what He put me through. And that's pretty much it, guys. I do not condone doing the messing with the occult or anything like that. Don't mess with it. God will use evil to bring about good, but don't mess with it. It's demonic. And honestly, who's to say that the spirit that I was talking to wasn't a demon disguised as light trying to possess my body? I don't know, trying to do something that I'm not aware of. There was some creepy things that was going on. I don't know all the details, but I will find out one day whenever I meet God. I'm sure He'll explain everything to me, but I'm just thankful that once I was blind and now I see, and how good is that light. Another interesting thing before I go, one thing I remember asking was, this spirit claimed to be my guardian angel, and I asked him, who chose you to watch over me? And this is before I knew about God and all that. I mean, I knew about God, but I was just asking questions, being an unbeliever. And he said, "You did." And I'm like, "I didn't. I don't know if that's true. Go to the Word." I'm not saying that's the truth. I'm just saying what he told me. But I asked him, "Did I exist before I was born?" And he just told me, "Beyond comprehension." And as I'm reading the Bible, I get into the Bible, and I see that we're predestined, that God knew us before we were born, that He knew us before the mother's womb. And so it just got me thinking, and it's just crazy the conversations I had, and how some of it, you read the Word of God, and then you just go back to this experience. But, all that happened is in the past. I'm moving forward now, living my life for God. I'm just so thankful that He revealed to me His love, and I hope He can do the same with you. Thanks, guys. God bless.